reaching out to those bands through Twitter and following their fans, and start offering some music so they can get dumped into that market through those fans. And then once you build an email list, you're able to segment it and say, hey, Rick Spar, I have 75 people within a 20-mile radius that all know my music. Would you, then you go to the fans and say, hey, go to the fans also too and ask them, where should we play in your area that you would support? But the big thing, kind of Peter brought that up earlier too, is that sometimes you're going into places thinking about what can the venue do for me instead of what you can do for the venue. When you go to an artist, artists have maybe three options right now when they're trying to pick an opening act. One, do they need help selling tickets? If they need help selling tickets, they're going to probably want somebody that's got a good following in that area, maybe has a song on the radio, so every time that song gets mentioned, they bring up their show. When I was with Taylor, we didn't need help selling tickets, so she just picked the cutest boys that she liked and called it eye candy for her little girl audience, and she would book whoever. There's certain people that say, hey, we've got a hit on the radio, but we may not be able to sell tickets in that market, so they'll go to the promoter of the club and say, who's your hottest local band that can put 100 people in the place? Because just because you have a song on the radio doesn't mean people are going to show up to your gigs. You got to remember, this is everyone's radio right now. Your job should be to get your music on as many of these as you possibly can. You don't need iHeart, you don't need Nash, you don't need whoever. You need you. You need to be able to say, okay, Rick, smarty pants, how am I going to get people to play my music on here? How many people have heard of Spotify? Okay, how many people have heard of SoundCloud? Both of them have APIs which play well in Twitter. So when you upload a link into Twitter from SoundCloud or Spotify, your music will play immediately inside of Twitter. You never have to leave. Because here's the other mistake that we all make, is we'll use our Facebook channel to try to go send people to YouTube. How many of you go on Facebook every day to watch YouTube videos? You go on Facebook to scroll down to see what your friends are doing. And if there happens to be a video that's inside of Facebook, you play it. But you normally don't leave. So make sure that people don't have to leave. So if you set up a strategy, which we do with the artists that I work with, you need to be posting your songs 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day on Twitter. Somebody just went, what? You're talking about yourself too much. Go, everybody, open up your Twitter account right now and go to your news feed and see how fast it works. Every single day, if you're writing this down, write it down. Every single day, we are day trading attention. We're trying for a split second to get someone's attention. So if we only posted at 9 a.m. on Facebook, and Rick doesn't wake up till noon, I didn't see your post. And then you're wondering why no one's at your show. Well, we put an event up on Facebook. I'll say, did you look at your insights and see when most people are on your Facebook page? Where do you do that? Tells you when the most people are there. I post that event 4 times a day, right at the time, because here's what happens, and this is the secret. Facebook's going to do a lot of the work for you. Facebook doesn't want you going, shit, every time I turn on Facebook, I see the same thing. Facebook's not going to let it be seen. They're going to sit there and they're going to let him see it. Later on in the day, they might let him see it. They might let her see it. They're going to do the work for you. Why? Because they don't want you leaving. The reason that Facebook doesn't want you going to YouTube, Google owns YouTube. So do they want you to spend money on Google ads? Or do they want you to spend money on Facebook ads? That's why the best thing that you can do right now is Facebook Live. You could be performing in front of an audience. The other day, I couldn't sleep. I had $1 million idea. That's what I told my wife at 4 o'clock when I got up. She goes, you all right? I said, honey, it just laid out perfectly in the dream. So I went into work at 6 o'clock. I did a Facebook Live. I had 173 people at 6 o'clock in the morning. There's not 173 people here. But I can go on every day and provide value. You can go on and do shows, then it ends, and then it lives forever. So we've got people doing the living room sessions. There's a gal by the name of Dawn Byer right now who I absolutely love. She's not one of mine. She started doing this virtual tip jar with PayPal Me. She's doing sometimes 2 Facebook Lives a day. People are tipping her. She's selling her t-shirts. She's selling her CDs. And I bet you she's making probably $1,000 to $1,200 a week on Facebook. She's not having to book shows. She owns the venue. She's not having to sell beer. She's on Facebook. And guess what? Here's the coolest part. When you're at a club, you may or may not have their attention. But if they took the time to jump in on your Facebook Live, you've got their undivided attention. So don't blow it. Say their names. That's what she did last night. She's like, hey, Rick. Hey, Denny. Laura, thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate the tip. Thank you. Thank you. What a great word. 2 words that aren't used enough. It's like when somebody leaves a comment, they're like, I want to get more comments on my Facebook post. I'm like, great. Do you go and answer all the comments that were left? Well, no. Then screw you. Go answer comments, and the psychology is, holy crap. My favorite artist answers comments. I'm going to leave them a comment. And then you add a comment to it. And then the little clicker counter starts going up. And then Facebook's like, oh, alert, alert. Something positive's going on over here. Let's let more people see it now. And then all of a sudden, more people come in. And then they start sharing it and things like that. There's a whole strategy that's involved. But instead, everybody's out trying to get discovered. Instead of sitting there saying, look, this guy knows his shit. I should spend some time with him. I should go look at all the free stuff that he has. That's the part that frustrates me the most. I go into Canada and I'm like the Pied Piper. I walk out of an event, people for hours, we're just talking and talking, and they're doing all this stuff, and I'm right here in Nashville. Everybody knows my relationship with one of the most powerful guys in Nashville, and nobody's coming up enough utilizing that stuff. And it's just surprising to me. That's why I said, stop dreaming, start doing. There's things that you can do. Question. This side of the room, anything? Yes, ma'am.
As far as content goes, what do you think the balance is between putting out like quality content? Like, is it better to do more, less quality, or like vice versa?
You should never put out less quality. You can only be judged by what's out there. Okay. Cool part is though, you can do a guitar vocal and it's quality. The problem is that if you it depends on where you're at in the relationship with your fan base too. You know, there's different levels of fandom. There's that one person who just likes everything, never bought a ticket, never bought a CD, just likes everything. Unfortunately, with some of the female artists I work with, it's the creepers that are like 60, is like, babe, you look awesome, and that's not anything to do with what they asked. But those guys are out there. Easiest way to do that? Hide comment, ban user. Block and delete. You don't have to be nice to everybody. Just don't try to have a conversation with them, but get rid of them. So, I'm all about consistency. I'm all about frequency. Because there's no shortage of pretty people who can sing. Who would agree with that? Okay, that doesn't make you special. But guess what? There's a lot of pretty people who can sing that don't show up. That's where you outwork them. When Taylor and I first started, it was said that we were too dumb to know any better. One, I came from radio, so I didn't know anything. I just knew that she said, hey Rick, I want a gold record. I said, cool, let's go meet 500,000 people. And I knew we couldn't get on the tours to do that because she didn't have a hit song on radio. And that's the part that really sucks about this town, is that the booking agents have sold chart position for so long to make the most money possible that now their baby acts, the first question the buyer says is, well, where are they at on the charts? I'm like, screw you did it to yourself. And that's what happened. So now you're going to be able to take numbers, analytics. I have this many people in this area. Honestly, what I would do first, if I got a good following in an area, I'd do a house concert. You're going to probably do $30 a head. Everybody there is going to want to say they saw you. You can bundle your CD, your t-shirts. You get, 50 people giving you $30. It's not how much that club's going to pay you. But everybody's like, I only played for 50 people. Dude, you made $1,500. It's like, come on, it's a business. And then you move into that, and then you come back later, and then you come into a club, and then you bring all those people from the house concert into the club. Frequency, consistency. We'll sometimes put up with bad video, but we won't put up with bad audio. Okay, so we want to be able to hear it. If you're too close, back off, learn, practice. The best camera you got right now is this on a tripod. I do most of my stuff with this right here. You're your own media mogul. Do you guys know that? With this phone, you've got your own PR firm and Twitter, Instagram. You got your own television station and Facebook and YouTube. You got your own radio station and Spotify or SoundCloud. You just got to learn how to use it. And stop making excuses on why everybody else is getting shit and you're not. Because you can get this. Lil Wayne, Drake, they all started online. And then everybody came in, and guess what? They weren't doing 360 deals like Peter was talking about. They were now partners, because you get a lot more decision making when you're a partner. Florida Georgia Line came in as a partner because they sold 100,000 downloads on their own dime. Well, part of my dime, because I signed them to a merch deal and gave them some money. But they went and got that ball rolling. They weren't at the mercy. I say it's the difference between being an employee and a partner. An employee doesn't have any decision-making process. You're kind of told what to do, and if there's no demand for you, I heard Peter probably mention social media 3 or 4 times in his presentation. If there is no demand for you, they're not in a hurry. So here's the math I promised you. 10 labels, 10 artists. Let's just make that shit up. So that's 100 people in the world. They get a chance. Record companies, because of the playlist that we talked about earlier as well. You learn a lot of shit for a banker, by the way. Yeah. They can only work 4 effectively because of relationships, because of favors, because of dollars. So that meant 40 people are in the game. 60 that were good enough to make the team aren't even in the game. And if it keeps working for those 40 that are in, some of those 60 never get to see the light of day. There's a person in this room that was one of those 60. And they never got to see the light of day, but they were held up for 2 years, I think, maybe more. They couldn't put out music when they wanted to. They couldn't go do a lot of things that they wanted to do because they were an employee. You want to stay independent as long as you can. You want to hold on to your publishing for as long as you can. You want to go out. If you could show an investor that you're making money, that's what we're all looking for, small businesses that we want to invest in. And it doesn't matter if you're making 100 grand as an artist right now, that's interesting to me. Because with my guidance, you might be able to get to 200,000. Then you get to 200,000 and people are starting to spread your message, you may be able to get up to 300,000. So it's a process. Everybody wants the big thing. It's like, I'm a golfer. Anybody here golf? Okay, if there's a hole that's 500 yards away, I am not going to be able to hit it in one shot. Nobody is. So what do I have to do? I have to plot my course. I have to say, what's the most effective club that I can get off this tee box to get me in an area of play? And then once I get there, I have to relook at the situation again and say, okay, now I'm here. What's the slope like? Are there trees in my way? Is there sand in my way? Is there water in my way? Well, if I do this one, I'm probably going to end up in the water, so I don't do it. I wish you guys would look at your businesses that same way. Find what the goal is, work yourself backwards.